Right, 8 January 2021, and today I want to take a look at a letter that was written by Nelson Chamisa on the 7th of January 2021. And this letter is alarming to me because it shows me a number of things about how Nelson Chamisa is thinking, about where he's going. So I have spoken a lot about Chamisa's strategy, and I want to look at this letter. I want to read it for you. It's a very long letter. But before I do so, I want to remind you what I said before, that the environment has changed, and Chamisa was number one. He was almost the most popular person in Zimbabwe in 2018. But as we move towards 2023, the environment has changed. It's no longer the same. The things that were important in 2018 are no longer as important. And as we go towards 2023, you will realize that the whole of Zimbabwe is going to change. So it's not just the politics, but everything about Zimbabwe is going to change. And we're going to end up in 2023 with an environment where everyone has to work together. So there won't be anyone who can do it alone. And this is where I think Chamisa is missing the point. Especially if you look at this letter, I was very, very disappointed when I read this letter because it comes after Douglas Monzora offered Chamisa a chance to come and talk to him, to dialogue. And it also comes after Idi Mnangagwa had offered Chamisa a chance to talk in Poland. So if you read through this letter, you will see what I mean. But before I give all my opinions, let's go through the letter very, very quickly. And let's look at the key issues here that are being raised in the letter. So the letter has been uploaded on gambako.com. If you go on that website, you will see the letter. It was written on 7 January 2021. And Chamisa wrote this letter. It's on a letterhead. So I've got both the letter that is on a letterhead and the text. And I think there's a bit of confusion as to whether this is an internal MDC letter or this is a letter to Zimbabweans. There's also the issue of Chamisa is going to be coming on the 26th of January after the MDC Alliance strategic planning sessions to speak. So according to my sources, Chamisa is going to be coming on the 26th of January to make a formal speech or to talk to the public. So if you look at this letter, it says the fog will soon clear, and it says fellow Zimbabweans. So it is addressed to Zimbabweans, but as you read more into it, you see that it's not written to Zimbabweans. It's actually written to people within the MDC. And as I say always, the people who vote for Chamisa are not MDC supporters. Chamisa is voted for by a lot of people that do not belong to the MDC. I can say out of the 2.6 million votes that Chamisa got, only about 700,000 are people that actually belong to the MDC. Whereas if you look at Mnangagwa's votes, the people that vote for Mnangagwa are ZANU-PF supporters. There are people on the ground, there are people in the rural areas, there are people who are in the structures of ZANU-PF. This is the difference between Chamisa and Mnangagwa, who is his main opponent. So let's read through this letter. Fellow Zimbabweans, when we began this journey 22 years ago, I was a young college student alongside my contemporaries. I was part of a generation of college students that joined veteran trade unionists, powerful women in the women's movement, war veterans, civic and church leaders, among others, who believed that the way Zimbabwe was being governed needed serious transformation. We believed that the system over which ZANU-PF presided was only serving a minority of elites who occupied vantage points within and around the state, while most Zimbabweans were condemned to suffering. It was plain that the future was bleak unless progressive Zimbabweans intervened to change the course. That is why we championed the message. Looking back, those days seem like a long time ago. A new generation has emerged since then. Babies born in 1999 are now adults. They have lived their formative years in very difficult circumstances. Times were different back in 1999, but I remember the energy and passion of every cadre as if it were yesterday. The idea that was sown in our hearts and mind has no expiring date. To be sure, the journey has been grueling, but I was never under any illusions that it would be easy. We have lost thousands of cadres along the way, including our founding father, Morgan Tsvangirai, who departed in February 2018. I was privileged to have a special relationship with him, and from him, I learned a lot under his leadership and guidance. The most painful losses have been those suffered at the hands of the state through violence. We cannot betray the memory of these dearly departed cadres. We must honor their dreams and aspirations for a better Zimbabwe. Otherwise, they would have died in vain. That is why I have never veered from the course that was set in 1999. Right, let me just check the comments and let me see if there's people can hear me. Right. Okay, I think everything's fine here. Everyone can still hear me. I look back and realize that I've spent more than half of my life chasing the vision that was designed and shaped by those courageous men and women who gathered in 1999 to form the movement for democratic change. The greatness of the idea has not diminished with time. No, it has been strengthened. Those men and women understood that the fundamental weaknesses of the heart of government needed not only new leaders, but also a fresh set of ideas and ways of doing things. We remain committed to that vision. One of the things that pleased me a lot is seeing a younger generation coming up and carrying the torch in politics. This is how strong institutions grow, and I want to pay special tribute to the young people of Zimbabwe whose political consciousness is growing. The journey has had seminal moments, some positive and others negative. Both types have been important learning experiences. Some of these challenges have been read as representing existential threats to the organization, but we overcame them. We survived the loss of our founding father by going on to amass the largest electoral votes in the history of the opposition, and had we not been cheated, we would have prevailed. It is a testament to the strength of the idea, the abiding loyalty of the people to the cause, and the abundance of their political wisdom that the party has withstood severe tests. Even when we have been written off by our doubters, we have shown our mettle and surprised many disappointing rivals along the way. Many of you have seen what has happened in the past year. Our rivals have used multiple tricks in the dictator's handbook in a calculated and relentless effort to undermine our party. Using apparatus of the state and under the cover of what has been described as lawfare, they've robbed us of our legislators, councillors, and funds, and that were due to us under the law. In a direct subversion of our democracy, they've even catapulted to parliament undeserving individuals whom you as voters rejected in the last election. The assault upon our democracy has been vicious, but we have been undaunted. As a party, we know that the purpose of these strategies is not just to undermine us, but it is also intended to obliterate us from the political landscape. ZANU-PF has never been comfortable with a strong opposition. They aim to build an opposition that they control. This is the sole purpose of the project that they've molded with our erstwhile colleagues. These were deliberate acts of provocation designed to lure us into the conduct that would justify violent repression during the pandemic. We have remained calm and resolute, not because we are unable to respond, but because we know the game that they're playing. We also remain true to our founding principle. We were committed to achieving change. through peaceful and non-violent means. That was supposed to read, we are committed to achieving change through peaceful and non-violent means. We have remained composed because we are confident that progressive fellow Zimbabweans are solidly behind us. We know this because of all the love, support, and encouragement that they've shown us during these testing times. We trust the gift of discernment that is given to Zimbabweans, which enables them to distinguish between right and wrong. They can tell when a bully is abusing power, and they know how to punish the abusive behavior, which punishment will be exacted through the ballot box. Significantly, Zimbabweans can tell the difference between genuine opposition that is challenging repression and enablers who are aiding and abetting repression. This is not the first time that the people of Zimbabwe have encountered this situation. During the last days of colonialism, the Smith regime tried to hoodwink people by promoting people like Bishop Abel Mzorewa ahead of the true nationalists who were fighting repression. Smith preferred the likes of Mzorewa because they were lackeys who would do his bidding, while Mzorewa and others were eager to join the gravy train to save their interests. However, the people of Zimbabwe saw this elaborate ruse and rejected it. Right. This may have happened over 40 years ago, but history has an uncanny habit of repeating itself. Zimbabweans can tell who is genuine and who is not by the way the ZANU-PF regime treats them. They can distinguish between the true and fake opposition by the way the repressive regime deals with them. ZANU-PF's preference for its surrogate at the expense of the MDC Alliance is an obvious giveaway. They will gang up against us, throw brickbats at us from their unholy alliance. We are not moved, and we remain resolute and focused. We are even more emboldened. We are stronger and more resilient. I shall be communicating with Zimbabweans more regularly this year, sharing our agenda and programs. There is so much to do and a lot of energy and commitment to do it. Unfortunately, we're in the middle of a deadly second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. Common sense behoves us to treat the pandemic with an extraordinary sense of vigilance, and in this regard, to do everything necessary to keep it at bay. This means we have had to suspend most of our programs. It can't be business as usual. The lives of Zimbabweans matter. Let us continue to pray that things get better for us and the rest of the world. We want to know we want to work with everyone to ensure that we get the vaccines and other support that we need to safeguard our communities. I know that the lockdown is extremely hard for many people. Ours is now largely an informal economy, and when people are stopped from working, they have no means of earning an income. If it were up to us, we would have offered more creative ways to support people during this difficult time. We would also have done more to support our frontline workers in the healthcare sector who are in harm's way as they carry out an important national duty. The billions that are lost through corruption and patronage can go a long way to support our healthcare sector, which was already in a bad shape long before the pandemic. Our people are paying the price of high level of incompetence over the years. I wish to conclude by reassuring you that your party, the MDC Alliance, remains solid, undaunted, and emboldened. I would like to thank you for your continued support and encouragement, even as we have been attacked from all directions by the regime and its enablers. These enablers, who present themselves as the opposition's opposition, you know that they are not genuinely the alternative. You know that they have relied on the abuse of state institutions to steal from us, your MPs, your councillors, money, party properties. And in doing so, they have undermined trust in politics. But you also know that there are some things that the repressive state and its surrogates can neither command nor steal: your loyalty and support. They cannot force you to support what you disagree with. They cannot command you to divert your loyalties. I am personally humbled by the knowledge that you have trusted us with these precious gifts. and I re-emphasize my commitment to honor and respect them. Do not be perturbed by the fog they've created, because it will soon clear. We will win Zimbabwe for change. We shall overcome. God bless you. God bless Zimbabwe. God bless Africa. Sincerely, Nelson Chamisa. Right. I enjoy reading this letter, and I know that many people have not read this letter. You should read letters from Chamisa. I like reading letters from Chamisa. He is a very good communicator. I like Chamisa a lot. You know, you guys, I've been following Chamisa for a very long time. But I've also tried my best to guide Chamisa in terms of strategy, because people around Chamisa, they've got a certain problem. They do not see the bigger picture. And I talk to a lot of people around Nelson Chamisa. This is where we have a problem. And from this letter, it's very clear. What is clear is that Chamisa is backward looking. In this whole letter, he is backward looking. There is not a single forward looking statement in this very long letter, which is very disappointing to me, because what I expected Chamisa to do was to deal with the way forward. How do we move from the point where we are now? You remember in January last year, I was talking here about the Supreme Court ruling. We tried our best to make Chamisa and his team see that fighting that Supreme Court ruling was not the right strategy. And I think we are back there, where Chamisa is still looking at the 2018 elections and saying they were stolen. He's still looking at the Supreme Court judgment, and he's saying that judgment was not a proper judgment. It was a judgment by Mnangagwa to put Ngonzora and Kupe in position. So we are back where we're looking backwards. We're also looking backwards at Tsvangirai. Chamisa is still claiming the legacy of Morgan Tsvangirai. So these three important things is what is guiding Chamisa. So if you look at this whole letter, and as I said, it's on gambako.com, you can go and read this letter again. He is backward looking. What Chamisa should be doing is being forward looking. So it's an alarming letter to me. I'm very alarmed, because I see a Chamisa that is not ready to take over Zimbabwe, because there are certain things that you need to do if you want to take over in Zimbabwe, compared to if you want to take over in MDC. So what he's doing here in this letter, he's communicating the desire to be the official opposition. He's not communicating the desire to be the national leader. So that is a very big problem. And why do I say so? There is no statement on unity. So if you want to win the election in Zimbabwe, which has been said by many think tanks, you need to unite the opposition. There is no statement in this whole letter where Chamisa is speaking about unity. So we have a problem now where Chamisa is backward looking. He's not communicating unity, and he's communicating that he is the official opposition. He's still communicating what happened in the past, but he is not communicating where we are going to go, how we're going to become the leaders in Zimbabwe, how he's going to take power from Mnangagwa. So this letter, very disappointing to me. And in fact, it reinforces my belief that Chamisa needs a strategic think tank around him, people who can help him to get over what has happened in the past and to move forward. And what do we need to do? So let's look at the actions that Chamisa needs to take. The priorities. Chamisa needs to look at his priorities. Does he want to be the official opposition, or does he want to be the president of Zimbabwe? If you want to be the president of Zimbabwe, there are certain actions you need to take that are different from actions that you need to take if you want to be the leader of the opposition. You can't be fighting Ngonzora. Ngonzora did not contest in the last election. You cannot be fighting Kupe. Kupe got 45,000 votes in 2018. So if you start that fight, you're picking the wrong fight. You're fighting with the wrong people. You need to make sure that you are ready, you are strong enough to fight Mnangagwa. So he needs to get his priorities right, and this letter does not show that he has done so. Then we need to go to the issue of the elections, the 2018 elections. I said this before last year. Chamisa needs to get over that election in 2018. You need to recognize Mnangagwa and say that election is gone. Now we need to focus on the 2023 election. Also, he needs to prioritize dialogue. He needs to look at dialogue within the opposition. How do you dialogue with Mnangagwa if you have not dialogued with the opposition? If you do not have the whole opposition on your side, if you cannot sit down with Monzora, if you cannot sit down with Kupe, how do you dialogue with Mnangagwa, and for what purpose? Why are you dialoguing with people that are not opposing? In fact, people that you say they stole your election, you want to dialogue with them, but you can't dialogue with these ones that were in your party. I think there, Chamisa needs to prioritize this, and I know that the guy said they're in a strategy session. This is where they need to go. The strength of Chamisa is in the public. The public loves Chamisa. They gave him all those millions of votes. But where Chamisa is losing out is within his own party, within the opposition. He's failing to convince the opposition leaders to rally behind him. So at the moment, we have a few opposition people in Matabeleland who follow Thokozani Kupe. We've got people who are in Harare, whoever voted for Ngonzora now at the Congress, they follow Ngonzora. We've got people who follow other leaders, and everyone is making noise. What we need is everyone to rally behind Chamisa. If he wants to be the president of Zimbabwe, he needs to convince all the opposition to come behind him. And from this letter, he is calling them lackeys, he's calling them fake opposition. He is not seeing them as people that can enable him to win the elections. And I've said this so many times, I'm almost able to say this when I'm in my sleep. You cannot win the election in Zimbabwe without a united opposition. And you can go back to all the think tanks, what they've been saying, up to the days when Jonathan Moyo was still the Minister of Information. The things you need to do if you want to win elections in Zimbabwe, you need a united opposition. You need a strong grassroots support. So Jonathan Moyo kept talking about how ZANU-PF is in the raw areas, is on the ground. He's got people who are structurally working from the ward to the provincial level, to the national level. These people are working together and everyone matters. So when you look at the way ZANU-PF is structuring themselves, they structure from the bottom upwards. So when you lose, you should not be surprised because they're doing the work. Also, there is one ZANU-PF. There is not ZANU-PF A, B, and C. So when they contest you, they are coming at you as one, and you are coming at them from many different areas of division. And this is where Chamisa is losing it. So he's going to get, in the next election, less votes than what he got, because people are saying this opposition is not able to win. So this is where, if you look at this particular letter, his posture, backward looking, failure to look at unity, and failure to communicate what needs to be communicated on his own side. So the dialogue, it's very important. You can't call Ngonzora a lucky because he supported the Supreme Court ruling. You need to move back and say, do I continue to fight Ngonzora and Kupe, or do I unite with these guys and then we'll go after Mnangagwa? How do I become the man in the opposition instead of supporting, of having my own few people? So you're going to have BT on your side, you're going to have Window on your side, you're going to have Mahere on your side. But that's not enough. You need everyone on your side. And this letter is not communicating this. Then obviously, I want to look at the change of the environment. Chamisa mentioned the issue of COVID, but what he didn't mention is the issue of the lockdowns. With these lockdowns, as I said, I anticipate the current lockdown will go for 2 years. You have seen how many people are dying. So many people are dying in Zimbabwe. My understanding is that yesterday, Nyara's Funeral Services head was waiting to collect 138 bodies. This is what I saw on the internet. So What is going to happen is that as time goes on, the lockdown is going to perpetually get extended. And once you go into a second lockdown, it's harder to get out of it. So if the first one took 6 months, your next one is going to take 12 months. Then after 12 months, you're going to say, okay, people are still dying. If I get out of this lockdown, what is going to happen? So my anticipation here and my projection is that the 2023 election is going to get postponed in a certain way. So there will be a way of postponing this election. So Chamisa used to be having this in his mind. What happens if the 2023 election gets postponed? Is he still going to be able to push to 2027 or even further and have all the support that he had? The momentum that Chamisa built was based on Morgan Tsvangirai's legacy. Is Morgan Tsvangirai's legacy going to be still as strong? And if we go into 2023 and we don't have an election, is Chamisa still going to be having a strong base? People who helped him to campaign in 2018, are they still going to be there? So the strategic issues around Chamisa are very much, they're difficult. And the decisions that these guys need to make, they are not the same as the decisions that they made in 2020. You cannot continue with a divided opposition. You cannot continue to be backward looking. You cannot continue not recognizing Mnangagwa, because Mnangagwa can put a lockdown anytime he likes. So you are now at his mercy. And if you want martial law, if you want these guys to continue putting you under lockdowns, continue to not recognize Mnangagwa, continue not to strategize, continue not to organize. And you'll see, you can get to 2027 with these lockdowns, because COVID is not ending like now. This is a pandemic. It can go on for 10 years. And this is one of the issues that I want to end with here. The understanding of the environment, very, very key. And things have changed. You can't look to South Africa to come and talk for you, to negotiate for you. You can't look to the United States to come and negotiate for you. They've got their own problems. So the focus should now be internal. Chamisa should now be an internal opposition. These things of playing to the international gallery, they are not going to work. This is politics of the past. We need a new kind of approach if Chamisa is going to make it. Right. So this is a lot to say about one letter. I've said a lot here about one letter. But as I said, when Chamisa writes a letter, when Chamisa makes a statement, I spend a lot of time looking at what he's saying. He's a very smart person. But I am always convinced that Chamisa is failing to separate being the leader of the opposition and being the leader of the country. The things you need to do are different. The kind of approach you need to use to be a national leader is different. Otherwise, you continuously be an opposition leader, you'll be popular in the opposition, but you will not make it as a national leader. Zimbabwe is a unique country. There are certain things that you need to do to win, to become a president. And then there are certain things that you need to become a leader of the opposition, especially the unity aspect. No one has got that right. Tsvangirai himself failed to get it right. If you manage to unite the opposition, you're going to win the election. If you manage to have grassroots structure, you're going to win the election. But if you don't do those things, you're going to lose. And then given the changed environment, if you continue to fight Mnangagwa, you are not going to do anything, because now we're under a pandemic. The guys are just going to lock you down and nothing's going to happen. So there has to be a need for Chamisa to realize that although it's good to be radical, you also need to start introducing a softer part, a negotiating part, a dialoguing part in the MDC Alliance, which means you also have to start giving and taking. You can't win all the time. Sometimes you lose, sometimes you're going to win. Right. Let me look at a few comments here. Gambako, do you know what leadership is? What leadership style is used by Chamisa Mnangagwa? Right, Gambako is a master in business leadership. I spent 4 years studying leadership, so maybe I know a bit. Let's go to Michael Mpofu. So you want him to unite people with 45,000 following? Give me a break. Okay, I think you understand that Chamisa failed to get a runoff because he could not get 36,000 votes. and Coupe had 45,000 votes. If Chamisa had united with Coupe, he was going to get those 45,000 votes. He was going to force a runoff. So, Michael, this kind of question, this is 2020. We need to move to 2021. You need to advise Chamisa to unite with everybody. Even someone with 10 votes, they need to unite with Chamisa. Then you are biased, pardon, you're fast losing credibility. You lead the little you had. Okay. Zao, I'm not biased. I'm the most, as I said to you, I campaigned for Chamisa in 2018. And I want you to understand. I want Chamisa to win. I want him to do well. But Chamisa needs to get the correct advice. Not people who jump around him every day and they support him every day. You saw the letter written by Hopo Chimuno last week that said Chamisa is surrounded by bootlickers. What are bootlickers? Bootlickers are people that can do anything to continue being next to Chamisa. I don't need anything from Chamisa. If I want to continue my business for 10 years, I can continue. I'm not based on a politician. No one pays me. So the thing that I'm trying to say here is advice that will make Chamisa win. If he follows my advice, he wins. If he doesn't follow my advice, he loses. So this is what you need to understand. Okay, let's look at Malak. You're stupid. Chamisa had over 2 million votes. Okay. Insults. I think many people have talked about MDC Alliance guys. They insult everybody. They call people luckies. It's also in this letter. Chamisa is calling Monzora lucky. This language that the people in the MDC Alliance are using, it will never work. When I was doing communication for Mamjuru back in I think that was 2017 or somewhere there, Changirai and Mamjuru went to Gweru. They held a rally. And after that, Chamisa went to Chitungwiza. And then he said some very harsh comments about Mamjuru, and they laughed. And they said, this guy, he doesn't know. You need everybody in the opposition. You can't call people stupids, luckies, puppets. They will not come to your side. And you're going to lose. If you don't unite with everyone in the opposition, you will lose. It doesn't matter how popular you are. If you don't bow down to other people, let other people shine, you will lose. And this goes for Chamisa. It goes for everybody. If you want to do well, you have to make other people do well. And this is the problem we have with the alliance. You've got a few people at the top, people whose only job is to insult other people, to make other people feel bad, to say we're the biggest, we're the best. And similarly, if you look at Mnangagwa in this call for dialogue, if you keep saying to Mnangagwa, you didn't win the elections, and you're now in 2021, three years down the line, you are not going to get what you want. What you need to do, you need to get people on your side. You need to make people see your point of view. And the MDC Alliance is failing to do this. The MDC Alliance communication department, very arrogant. People like Fazama Mahere, they've failed to come and communicate Chamisa's position. Go in this approach. Take this approach to 2023, and you'll see. You will lose so badly. You are going to get 1.5 million votes, and Mnangagwa is going to get 2 million votes, and you will lose. Whereas if you work with everybody, you are going to get 2.6 million votes. You're not going to lose your votes. No one is going to go into a bus from Johannesburg or fly from London to vote for people that show no direction, that think they're the best thing, that think they can do it alone. You have to work with everybody else. Now, let's go to Chamisa is the only game in town. Same thing. Elton is saying, Gambako is saying the truth, but people love to be lied and don't want the truth. Merindoro, okay, you said nothing, as usual. So I think what we need to do here is, guys, have a look at the letter that Chamisa wrote. And this year is going to be important. We are going digital, which means Chamisa is going to be able to communicate directly to the people. He's going to be writing more letters. He's going to be going and doing more lives. And similarly, the guys on Monzora's side, they need to approach Chamisa. They need him. The people on Kupe's side, they need to approach Chamisa. They need him. Everyone needs each other. And all these people need to approach Mnangagwa and work with him. The environment has changed, guys. You cannot have a country where you're fighting when you're in a pandemic. You need to move away from the politics. You need to focus on the economy. And then from there, you are going to have to negotiate. In 2023, there is likely not going to be an election. And if there's an election, it's not going to be like the 2018 election. So understand these changes. Understand this environment. The environment has changed. The pandemic has changed everyone. And most people that you know are going to be dead by 2023. Unfortunately, with this pandemic, if it continues this way, most of the people that you know, they are going to pass away in this pandemic. It's taking people. It's killing people. If you come here to South Africa, prominent people are dying, like you don't know. So there's going to be changes that you don't expect, and they're going to happen very, very soon. Right, Lord Bailish. I wish I knew your real name, man. Your analysis of Chamisa's letter is your own opinion. Doesn't mean it's right or it's wrong. But please don't mislead people. Of course, this is my opinion, but let me tell you a secret. I'm one person that reads letters. I know most people didn't read this letter. If I say 589 people were here, raise your hands who read this letter. Very, very few. And I love reading these things because I want to see what people think. The only people that I don't normally like read their letters is people like Tendai Beat. He says the same thing over and over. So I know what he's going to say. But Chamisa, I like him. He writes long letters. When he says, he speaks a statement. If Chamisa goes on a stage, he's going to convince you. The problem is taking those words and making them a reality. That is where we have a problem with Chamisa. But put Chamisa on any stage right now. He's going to convince people. He's going to convert you. He's going to make you want to do things. But we need to go further. Chamisa's problem is failing to engage people, to galvanize people into action, and to make people move to the next level. That is the true test of a leader. If you want to see a true leader, when they go somewhere, when they leave, that place has changed. The problem we're having now with Chamisa is that when he comes to a place, he's going to talk the game, but nothing's going to get played. We need a change this year in 2021. And this letter is totally backward looking. This is what I'm saying. And Lord Balish, forgive me. I want to tell you how much I want Zimbabwe to do well. I'm tired of staying in South Africa. I want to come to Zimbabwe. I want to do things in my country. But with all this fighting and bickering, it's not going to happen. And I hate it when people are dying in the country and people are still fighting over politics when people are supposed to be working together, developing a new system. Because when Chamisa sees things wrong in Zimbabwe, he thinks it's Mnangagwa. I don't think it's only Mnangagwa. There's a problem with Chamisa, with Monzora, with Kupe, with Mnangagwa, with Chiwenga. All these people, they're part of the problem. Everyone needs to own this problem. And we need to move forward. And then the MDC supporters, the MDC Alliance, MDC-T, they're also a problem. Everyone needs to play their part so that we can move forward. Philip Spanda, you're saying I must aid you. Unfortunately, I can't aid today. This is my one-on-one. You need to call me and I'll have a day for you. Right, this is the last comment that I'm going to take. Do you want Chamisa to push arrested to be arrested? You know how ZANU-PF operates. I'm very sorry about the arrests that are taking place in Zimbabwe. I understand Hopo was arrested. I don't know the details, but I've been traveling today. But I don't think Chamisa can be arrested for going to Poland, having dialogue with Monzora, having dialogue with Kupe. I don't think those are the things that can get you arrested. What I'm just trying to say to you is, I started my magazine, The Last Observer, in 1998. I was in student politics, and there was no private media at that time. The same time that Trevor Ncube started this newspaper, the Independent, And there were new newspapers like the Financial Gazette and all that. So I am very clear about the radicalism, the politics of radicalism, that you have been arrested, that you are popular with the people. That politics is what is driving the MDC Alliance. They want to be seen as the most radical, the people who fight ZANU-PF the most. And that politics, I am telling you, in this environment we have now, it won't work. The politics of saying I was close to Tsvangirai, I'm the one who was left when Tsvangirai fell sick and went to South Africa. That politics is dead. It's not bringing bread on the tables of the people. What do Zimbabweans need? Zimbabwe needs a united political environment where people are fighting on the level of ideas. At the moment, what are the ideas? You're calling each other names the same way you were calling each other names when we were back in the 90s. You're still talking about the liberation struggle, which happened 40 years ago. What you need to be talking about now is how do we take our country forward? And that is the language that we expect to be seen. This language of saying, I'm the one, I'm the best, without me, nothing can happen. That is dead politics. And it needs brave people to take you forward. And at the moment, we don't have those people that are brave enough to take us forward. And I hope that when the strategy session is done, and when the 26th of January comes, and Chamisa stands up on a stage, I expect him to say, we talked to Ngonzora, we are going to be working on something. We talked to Kupe, we're going to be working on something. Now, the politicians in our country, they can't even accept a loss. Kupe's people, they haven't talked to me since the extraordinary Congress, because they say, why did you say Monzoro won the election? I announced what was announced at your own extraordinary Congress that is set up. We have these people in our politics that only want to hear what they want to hear. They do not want any other alternative. They do not want to see any other. So they have this belief that it's going to happen this way. If it happens another way, I'm out. I'm not part of it. My side did not win, so everyone must lose. We need a win-win approach to our politics. And we need people who are going to say, we're all Zimbabweans, let's have a new kind of politics. And this letter that Chamisa has wrote is not it. I was disappointed when he called these other opposition leaders Luckies, Mnangagwa's puppets, because it's taking us back. It's not going to take us forward in 2021. And I hope that the MDC Alliance supporters are going to say, Chamisa, we don't want this approach. We want a new approach. We want an approach that is going to take us forward. Right. I've talked for so long. I think this is my new thing in 2021, to talk so much. And I'll try to keep it down. It's a Friday. I know you guys want to rest. And personally, myself, I'm enjoying my new company, the way we're running, but the lockdown is already hitting us very hard. Our audience in Zimbabwe is plunged. It plunges when the lockdown is announced, because most of our people are watching from the offices. So we don't get so many views during the day. People are struggling. And you know that most of the networks in Zimbabwe, it's very expensive to get data to view. So I really appreciate what you guys are doing. And Mary, I wish you could come here and talk to me. I've approached you so many times to come and talk to me. MDC leaders, they surprise me. You give them a platform. They like talking in the comments. They like making these little talks. I call an MDC Alliance leader here. Come talk to the people. And then I hear nothing. I'm so disappointed. Chamisa, if you're watching me, talk to your people. This is disappointing. MDC communication, MDC Alliance communication is the worst, especially Fadzai. She has done nothing. And I'm going to continue to hammer her going forward, because I don't think she's doing a great job. There is something that is not right in the MDC Alliance communication department. You cannot have such a bad communication department. And I was watching your website. From 15,000 visitors, a week, a month. Last time when I analyzed it, it is down to 5,000 visitors a month. These are the numbers that I'm telling you. I'm not telling you. Ask your technology guys. People are not engaging with the MDC Alliance. You need people to engage. You need the right people in front, people talking to the people. You need people that are not going to talk about Chamisa chete chete. You need strategy. You need the real plans. And we want to see you as a leader. We want to see change. We want to see a changed Zimbabwe. And we look back and say, do you know that when Chamisa came, he did ABC? I know the speeches are good, but that's not enough. Right. So let us conclude. Right. I think, well, so I think let's not continue to talk about this later because I could go on. The comments are coming. And I appreciate you guys. So let's end this discussion. I was supposed to have the MDCT guys here today to talk about Beitbridge, but they were unable to. So what I want to do is maybe tomorrow we can have an update on Beitbridge. We can talk about other things. But if you want to talk to me, you're welcome to do so. We can have as many guests here as possible. We also have a number of elections coming up. We've got an election in Uganda. We've got an election in Zambia. So we're going to be following that. Next week, Uganda is having an election. And I think later on this month, we're going to have Zambia. Zambia is becoming a total disaster. Edgar Lungu is proving to be a worse leader for Zambia than anyone else. So let's see what we do there. The situation in Mozambique has been quiet. We want to keep looking at Africa, but Zimbabwe is obviously the focal point. If you see me one day walking in First Street and I'm walking freely and my office is there, you know that Zimbabwe is fine. We've got so many plans for our country as young people, but we need to fix our politics so that everything that we do works. Right. Thank you very much for watching. And I'd like to let everyone go now. And we'll talk again tomorrow. If I don't manage to talk to you tomorrow, sometime over the weekend. And then we have the sanctions talk on Monday with Tinashi Jonasi. Thank you very much.